Hello and welcome to Thursday. Thursday is our one-to-one series on YouTube, and yeah, we have an awesome video for you today. Okay, the sun has gone, it's left, god damn it, it's freaking raining. But don't worry, regular citizen, we have an awesome video, like I was saying, coming up right now. So today we get to talk to Nigel Motyer. He is Ireland's best underwater photographer, and he travels all over the world to the likes of Cuba, Raja and Pat, and all the best dive sites that you could ever freaking dream of. So let's get into his mind and see what clearly makes him mad to dive with crocodiles and sharks. And you're very welcome to the one-to-one series, my good old buddy, scuba diver Nigel Motyer. How are you keeping, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good stuff. I'm doing great. First of all, I have to say I'm a bit of a fanboy. All right, so don't get all gooey on me, So, you to me is an inspiration. Like, you get all over the world and you get to dive with some of the best marine life that I've ever seen, and I really want to go do the stuff that you do. So yes, I am very envious of you, my friend.
Well, look, you're right. I do go all over the world to look at stuff, but really, there's nothing that particularly hard about it. It's available for anybody to do, and it's great fun. I love it. I'm passionate about it, and I love it. I've been doing it now for 20, 30 years, so it's a great thing.
Excellent. So let's jump into the interview. We'll get to know more about you. Yeah.
Sure.
Excellent. So, for all our listeners who don't know who Nigel is, who is Nigel?
Well, I live in Dublin. I'm married with two kids, Hannah and Ben, married to Sinead. I live in Malahide in North County Dublin. I started diving just after I left school. Actually, the year I left school, I started learning how to dive. And it was one of those situations where as soon as I did it, I knew I'd found what I wanted to do. I've always been fascinated with the underwater world, always been fascinated with marine life and aquatic life in general. And when I started diving, it was like coming home for me. And as a consequence, I've done it for now ever since. It's, as I say, it's something I'm passionate about, something that I really find kind of gives me something in my life that is unique and renews me. So it's great.
Brilliant. It gives you a sense of solace, shall we say?
Yeah, very much so. When I'm doing that, I'm not thinking about anything else.
No one can ring you.
Real holiday.
No one can ring you under the water. You don't have to check your Facebook notifications under the water. So yeah, it's a sense of freedom. No one can get in contact with you, and it's just you and the ocean. In my head, it is anyway.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's very much like that. And it's time when you're diving is time that is precious.
True.
But it goes so quickly. You don't notice, the time. You lose a day really, really quickly when you're diving underwater.
Very true. So come here, when you're growing up, and I've asked all my kind of guests that have came on the one-to-one series, what type of sports they have been into and were they actually any good at them. So most of them claim to be good at stuff, but I don't know if they really are. So is there a sport that you would have done besides scuba diving growing up?
So I was terrible at traditional sports, team sports. I just didn't like them. And in our school, it was soccer and rugby and that kind of stuff. And I just had no interest, absolutely no interest. And I still don't really have any interest in sport, team sport. But I always loved swimming. And as a kid, I used to go swimming before school and always loved swimming in every form.
Class.
And I did it a bit competitively, but I didn't really like competing. I'm not a competitive type of person, I have to say that. But swimming, I suppose, would be the nearest I ever got to doing a sport.
Cool. That's actually really interesting. Didn't know that about you. And it was actually handy because you married with the scuba diving.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So come here. So is it only scuba diving photography that you practice, or is there another type of genre that you do, like landscape photography or portraits or anything like that?
No, it's mainly underwater. The first camera I ever got was an underwater camera. I got a Nikonas 5 back in the early 80s. I had just started working. I had very little money, but there was a scheme in work for ideas, good ideas, and you got paid in vouchers.
Oh, nice.
I ended up, we came up with a whole bunch of ideas, and I got paid in vouchers for a shop on Grafton Street at the time. It's called Switzer's. It's not there now. But I got vouchers for Switzer's, and I went up to the guy who was running the accounts department in Switzer's, and I said, look, I want to buy a camera, but you don't sell them. I want to buy a Nikon's camera. Can you get one for me? And he said, yeah, I probably can, yeah. So he ended up getting one Nikon's camera in, and I used my vouchers to buy it. And that's how I got into photography. First camera that I ever owned was only able to take pictures underwater, really, you know.
Wow, that's impressive. That is really cool. Not envious at all, like, but anyway. So, come here, thinking about it in the last few weeks, like, we've had some amazing weather and we've had some amazing, almost a flurry of marine life hitting our coast. So, we've had, like, basking sharks in Kilkee, we have had orcas in Mayo, we've had humpbacks in Cork. So, have you ever gotten to photograph any of these mammals here in Ireland, or if you have not, have you got to do it abroad?
Yeah, no, I have. Like, I've always been really fascinated with the big stuff in the water. You know, it's like, it's great seeing the small, colourful stuff, but when you see something huge swims up to you underwater, it's an amazing experience. And so in Ireland, we have the second biggest fish in the ocean, the basking shark, and we have one of the best places in the world to see them. So in April, they come in around the south coast, and they kind of work their way up that coast, and then come up to Donegal at the end, and then head up into Scotland and go between the islands of Coll and Tiree there. Now, pretty much anywhere along the coast you have a shot at seeing them, but they're so hard to get in the water with. They're nervous and they're hard to find. But I've had a number of occasions where I've seen basking sharks, and it's amazing when you do. Like, it's just incredible when you do, and a great opportunity to try and photograph them as well if you can see them in clear water. It's hard because they like plankton, so you often don't see them in clear water.
Yeah, true. It was killing me when I seen him in Kilkee, and I was there going, I can't go anywhere at the moment.
Me too.
Like, oh my God, I really want to go, you know. But look, safety first. We might get it next year, fingers crossed.
Yeah. And one of the areas that you can swim with in Dublin Bay, you can swim with seals, and that's quite a great experience. You know, because there's so many people using the bay, the seals aren't totally freaked out by people in the water, and if you put your time in, you can get in the water with them as well. So you know, that's what I would do, and I'm really looking forward to, you know, on the 7th of June when the next lockdown piece ends, and I've got a bit more distance I can travel. I can get down to some of the areas where you can swim with seals in Dublin.
Cool. I definitely have to join you for one of them. I have to.
Great.
So look, you have been to some of the most amazing dive sites all over the world, such as Raja and Pat and a few others. Which one would be your favourite to live out the rest of your diving days, and you couldn't move off this one site? What one would it be?
Wow. Yeah. Well, you know, I do have this fantasy about living on a boat. You know, living on a yacht and being able to go wherever I wanted to go. So that's kind of cheating. That's not what you're asking me. Where would I go? It's just such a hard thing to do, because I like the places that I want to go to now are the places that I've never been to yet.
Okay.
And there is loads of them. One of the very best places that I have been to, just in terms of the variety of life and the variety of diving in a small area, was the Galapagos Islands. It's quite a remarkable place in that, in an area, look, it's a big enough area, but within the island group itself, the very northern islands, Darwin and Wolfe, have amazing whale sharks and hammerhead sharks, silky sharks, Galapagos sharks. Like, that's really world class for that. When you come back down south a little bit, you cross the equator and come back into the main island group, you have penguins, you have flightless cormorants, you have mola, you have turtles, you have seahorses, all in one dive, all in one location. And so it is quite a remarkable place, and the topside, the land animals are just as remarkable. So would I live there forever? There's not a lot in the Galapagos Islands. You're not going to be going to a cinema.
No.
But it's so hard to pick, Dermot. Yeah, but like somewhere at the Galapagos, because it has that variety, and you've got to think, if I'm doing it for the rest of my life, hopefully that's a long time.
That's a good answer. I like your ideas. So look, come here. I like to think that I've been living an exciting lifestyle, so to speak. But when I look at you and see some of the places that you've been and some of the mammals that you've got to witness under the water, like let's have a look at this video footage here of these sharks. First of all, like, what sharks are these? Are these tiger sharks? What are they like? And were you in full body of mind and sound to go into the water at all then? Because me personally, I would be pooping it. It looks amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's South Africa, and I was fortunate. I work in financial services. I do some work in financial services, and I used to regularly go to South Africa for work. And one time I had to be there over the weekend, and I was lucky enough to get down to Darwin and dive just south of Darwin. There's a place called Umkomaas, and there's a reef system about a mile off the shore there. Called Aliwal Shoal, and that footage was shot in Aliwal Shoal. Now I was shooting stills, that's what I would primarily do, but I had a little GoPro on the front of the camera. Brilliant. And I just let that run, and you can see the sharks. The sharks themselves in this case are oceanic blacktip sharks, so they're quite big, and they have this habit in there of, when you take a picture, the strobes have to recycle, which creates an electronic signal in the water, and they pick up that electronic signal and they'll point at the strobes, they'll snap at your strobes. So it's quite a full-on experience when you're in the water with them.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, great fun though. But it's one of those places where you can, there are great whites there, and there are big tiger sharks there. So it's one of those places where, although you're looking at these oceanic blacktips, you've got to be mindful that there could be something else in the water with you, because you're just open ocean. You're off the reef, you're hanging in the water, and it's quite an experience. Brilliant place.
I don't know if I'd do it. I'd like to think I would, but look, someday we'll see what happens. I'll definitely do a cage dive first.
You totally would.
Cage dive first, then we'll see.
No, you can't dive in a cage. Cages are really hard to dive in. When you like, I've used cage diving for photographing great white sharks, and it's not a nice experience, because you're being bounced around. The water, the cage is hopping around. If the water's anyway rough, and it often is in South Africa, and people get into the cages and get sick. They get seasick. Ugh. So you're much better off being out of the cage.
Okay, all right, I'll take your word for it. So come here, let's get to find out about what gear you use. So like I love photography gear. I like new toys and all that. So I want to know what camera you shoot with underwater, and tell me what are the pros and what are the cons of that camera.
Yeah, so I've gone through lots of different cameras in my time. One of the things that I think is beneficial is as you move through, as a new camera comes out, you need to take a look at what it gives you and see, is that appropriate for underwater? Does that give you an advantage underwater? So I started with a Nikonis, very quickly moved on to a housed Nikon F3, and I did that because it gave me a big viewfinder, and it gave me through the lens viewing, and it was just a step change in my photography when I did that. And then I kind of moved into autofocus with 801s, F90s, F100s, and then I moved into digital. And for a period of time, I would travel with a digital system and a film system. And I remember a guy telling me, John Collins, great photographer based in Kinsale, he told me, he said, I've just got myself a D100, which is one of the very early Nikon digital cameras. And he said, your first trip with the digital system will be your last trip with the film system, because you'll never go back to film. And that's exactly what happened. I immediately stopped shooting film and started shooting digitally almost exclusively, because it's just so much easier. Underwater photography is so much easier when you get the feedback straight away on the back of the camera. And so I've been shooting with various different digital systems. The most recent one I shoot with now is a D850, a Nikon D850.
Nice camera.
Which is wonderful camera, a really, really good camera. It obviously has a very high resolution sensor, and so it needs very expensive lenses, because if you don't have quality lenses, you'll see it in the image. But one of the wonderful things about it is it's got very high dynamic range, and it's very good at higher ISOs. So when you're underwater and it's predominantly dark, especially in Ireland, you need to be shooting at reasonably high ISOs, and the Nikon files are really good when you shoot with the D850 in that space.
Brilliant. That's great to know. I'll just let you know though, I'll never buy one. I'm a Canon man, true and true.
You're a Canon guy, yeah, right, yeah. Well, I saw your camera, and it looks pretty good. It looks like a really good camera system.
Very happy. So come here, you seem to have a love affection with alligators, which is where I draw the line. Sharks, maybe, yeah, but alligators, God no. So tell me about photographing alligators in Cuba, since you clearly lost your mind to get in the water with them.
Yeah, well, so what we photographed in Cuba was crocodiles, but I did try and photograph alligators in Florida,
All right.
and I wasn't at all successful. They're very nervous, they're very shy. But in Cuba, they have saltwater crocodiles which come into the mangrove areas, and you can get in the water with them. And yeah, brilliant experience. Like it, you know, with a shark, you can tell by their behavior whether they're going to be aggressive or whether they're going to be troublesome. With a crocodile, you get no feedback at all. It's very quiet, very slow moving, sits in the water, doesn't do much until it does. And then when it suddenly starts moving, it's explosive speed, massively exciting, adrenaline rushing. But yeah, I wouldn't say I ever felt really comfortable in the water with the crocodiles. I always felt that there was a possibility that this could go wrong very quickly. But it was an amazing experience because they're incredible animals to see, and unique and new. Like, it's a new thing to photograph. So for me, it was the first time I'd been in the water with anything like that.
But didn't you tell me on the side that one of them had a liking to one of your friend's flash guns or something like that?
Yeah. We had a situation where a friend of mine, Tim, was photographing one of the crocs, and it was just kind of lying at the surface of the water, and he was photographing that, and another croc came in underneath it. And kind of turned around, and it was we think it was doing some kind of territorial thing, and it came up and it bit the first crocodile in the middle of the body, and that crocodile then turned around and grabbed Tim's strobe, and all I could see was splashing, grabbing. Tim was being shook through the water. I thought he had actually been bitten, but the croc had got hold of his camera and was shaking that. Tim was holding the camera, so he was shaking as well.
I'm not giving you my camera.
Yeah. And then it let go, and the two crocs swam away, and there was just complete silence, absolute silence, where we all looked at each other and thought, "Okay, time to get out."
Wise decision, I would say, on your part. Jesus, you're not getting me in the water with the crocs. Sorry, no. But look, come here. So we are due to have a dive, honestly, and maybe in Port Royal coming up quite soon. And we were talking about it a couple of months ago that you want to practice maybe a bit more off-camera flash and a bit of rim lighting underwater. Yeah. Is this something that you've practiced much before? And what is the benefits of using off-camera flash underwater?
Yeah, so I've done a little bit of it where I've used off-camera light. And it creates just a very different dynamic effect. Like, one of the things when you look at underwater photography, a lot of it can look very samey, because we all tend to use the same lenses. We tend to go and photograph the same things, coral reefs, different animals. And when something is lit differently, it lifts the image away from the norm. And so I've tried doing things like where I've taken high quality lights and I've moved them behind subjects to rim light them and backlight them. Or I've tried using really slow shutter speeds to pick up light in very dark conditions and then pop a little bit of fill light in afterwards with the camera mounted strobe. And so all of those things. And what I'm finding is that the more of that you do, the more interesting the images become. They look different and they look interesting, and people are looking at them going, how did you do that? How did you get that effect? And that's kind of interesting when that happens.
I've been a photographer the whole time, but I've slowly transitioned into the world of filmmaking and videography and stuff like that, and I really love doing that stuff. And I know you have a GH5, which to some is one of the best video cameras on the market. Have you ever thought about doing a bit more filmmaking yourself under the water?
I've thought about it a lot. Yeah, I have, and I bought a camera's housing for my GH5, and
brilliant.
I've got a bigger monitor so that I can be more effective underwater with that system. And I literally have all of that now since November, and took it with me up to Norway to try and photograph orca, and ended up spending the whole time shooting orca on my D850. I didn't use the film camera at all, but really looking forward to getting back in the water here to do some filming work. And I really wanted to do 2020, the diving season in 2020, as being a kind of a season to really get familiar with video, to try and understand how it works. It's a totally different way of shooting. And I'm a long time shooting stills, so I've got to try and figure out how to do that. And so it's a lot of work involved, but I'm really looking forward to doing it. It'll be a really interesting challenge.
Excellent. We'll do a part of my new series that's coming up. Once this COVID thing, remember Diving with Dad, we have to do an episode with yourself and I. So and then we have
I'd love
Michael
to.
lined up and a few others. But yeah,
Great.
definitely got to do
Great,
it.
yeah.
So, talking about all this COVID crack, look, it's kind of grounded us all for the last 6 to 7, 8 weeks, even whatever. But once this gets lifted, what is the first thing that you are going to do? What's the first thing Nigel is going to dive?
The first thing I'll definitely do is I'll spend some time with the seals in Dublin Bay. I love doing that. If we can get good weather and good clear water, it's a beautiful thing to do. It's great for personal fitness because you're snorkeling. There's no scuba involved, and so I do that. And then just as soon as I can, I'll head over to the West Coast. I have some good friends living on the West Coast. Nick Pfeiffer is a great friend of mine. And we love diving together. Nick's a great guy, great photographer. And so that'd be the first thing I would do is I'd get over to the West Coast and hopefully dive the Aran Islands or some of those amazing sites over there.
Class. I look forward to seeing the results from that. But absolutely brilliant. Come here, Nigel, thank you very much for coming on this one-to-one series. So for everyone that wants to keeping track with you and check out your work, what's your social media kind of handle so people can follow you on Instagram or Facebook or whatever?
Yeah, Instagram is where they'd find me. Just Nigel Motyer on Instagram and they'll get me. And that's probably the best place to see my pictures. I use that and post them on there on Facebook. Class.
And what I'll do is I'll leave a link below to your Instagram channel so people can go on and check it out. But thank you very much, Nigel. I really do appreciate it. And come here, if you have liked this video, do give it a like, smash that subscribe button, and if you want to see more upcoming videos, don't forget to click the notification bell so you get notified as soon as we drop a video. And if you've got any questions for me or Nigel, please do leave them in the comments below and we will do our best to answer them. Nigel, thank you very much for coming on the one-to-one series, and I'll talk to you again soon, buddy.
Pleasure, Dermot. Take care.
Hey yo.